So what we hope to do during this course is to equip ourselves not only with various skills like listening and responding, how to better listen, how to better respond, but also equipping ourselves with knowledge so that we better understand the human person and why people say and do the things that they say and do. That is to say, the more that we understand the human person, the more when we're in these situations, we'll be able to talk with that person, help them to see, they're seeing something from one perspective. Okay, let me tell you how people are. The example that I'll often use comes to often with sexual ethics. There are certain people carry a lot of guilt about doing certain things, right? Masturbation. Psychologists tell us that 99% of men do this. Okay, is this so horrible and terrible? Or let me tell you, from the perspective of psychology, right? Maybe we have a different way of looking at it than the perspective of faith and having to feel guilty about these things. So how do we bring knowledge of the human being into these conversations? Let me tell you how human beings are. You're feeling anger? Okay, let me tell you why it is that you're feeling anger. Let's unpack that during this course. Follow me? When a person is feeling angry, where does anger come from? And if you've ever felt angry, why did you feel angry? Let's hold that for the third class. But the more knowledge that we have of the human being, the more knowledge that we have about the human condition, the more knowledge that we have about human psychology, the more that we'll be understanding why people say and do the things that they say and do. Other tools that we'll put into our toolkit, simply knowledge about human development. We've got to acknowledge how it is that Becky teaches 7th graders. Whoa, have you thought about that? 7th graders have something in common with other 7th graders that maybe they don't have in common with adults. Follow me? There are different developmental stages. We all pass from infants to children to adolescence. There are different stages, and different people are a certain way during different stages. So let's learn about human development as part of this course. So when a person comes to us, we understand, oh, I see, that person is in a stage in his or her life where he or she is thinking about certain things, which is in line with human development. We think about different things at different points in our lives. Human development, but also spiritual development, because even in our own faith, what happens is we develop in our faith in the same way that we have different human development theories, right? We'll learn about Erik Erikson and various persons who, Piaget, all these people give us different theories of human development. There are also theories of spiritual development. How do our spiritual lives develop over time? So that when we're listening to a person, we get a sense, oh, this is where this person is in his or her spiritual life. Knowledge of gender differences. Again, I used the name John Gray before during this course. Let's talk about men are from Mars, women are from Venus. What does that mean? That men and women often approach things in different ways. How do we better understand people of the other gender? Knowledge of generational differences. When I say generational differences, if you were born in the 30s and 40s, you're going to look at the world in a different way than, say, people who were born in the 1990s or 2000. We often refer to these as for instance, there's the generation of the baby boomers. They tend to have these shared experiences and to see the world through one lens. Generation X tends to look at it through another lens. Generation Y, they grew up together. Millennials, we have all these groups that are growing up together who share experiences. They understand one another better than they understand people from other generations. Baby boomers will better understand baby boomers, usually, than they'll be able to understand their kids, their grandkids or great-grandkids. So let's understand generational differences. Another tool in our toolkit would be the knowledge of cultural differences. When people come from different places or different backgrounds, they're going to be programmed to think in different ways. And also different religious differences. And I say even within Catholicism, because you can have two Catholics and they can be so very different, right? One could be very, very conservative and rigid in his or her views. Another could be quite open-minded and liberal. Whatever words we want to use to these people. So even within religions, okay, to help to understand how it is that people from different religions and or different religious standpoints are going to view things in different ways. And that's okay. The more that we understand these differences that exist among us, the better we're able to respond in those situations. Vincent?
It says like, well, you have tools and toolkits, so what kind of toolkits can we use for this?
Excellent question. So essentially what we're going to do the rest of this evening is we're going to start talking about what are some of those tools. So the first one's going to be Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay? Once we understand what Maslow is talking about, then we can start looking at situations in our lives through those lenses. Follow me? We refer to that as a tool in our toolkit. So by the end of this evening, what we're hoping is that various tools in our toolkit will be Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That'll be one tool. So when we're listening to a person, we can think, okay, what would Maslow say about this? Another tool, Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. This is that concentration camp survivor, right? He gives us some pretty deep insights into how human beings are. Okay? What would Viktor Frankl say about this person in this situation? What about M. Scott Peck, the guy who told us that life is suffering? What would he say about this person in this situation? And finally this evening, Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He talks about people, right? What would he say about people in these sorts of situations? So it gives us various tools so that by the end of this evening, we'll have at least 4 different authors that we can, when we're listening to a person, we can begin thinking to ourselves, okay, what would Maslow say? What would Frankl say? What would Covey say? What would M. Scott Peck say about what this person is going through? Because then that gives us more knowledge to be able to share with a person like that. To be able to say, what you're saying reminds me of something I heard the other evening. From a book that M. Scott Peck wrote called The Road Less Traveled. Have you ever read it? Let me tell you what he says.